Here we go. Welcome back to the Dynasty Football Maniacs. Today we're gonna kind of skip around a little bit. We're not gonna cover the wide receivers right off the bat. We're gonna start with some because free agency is fixing to come up. March the 13th will be the official day. So me and Austin was kind of throwing some ideas back and forth. We're gonna go ahead and give us our free agent projections where some of these players might land, and we're gonna see how good we are. So we each gonna have an opportunity to pick three teams. For the players that we picked that are fixing to be released, maybe as free agents. That's even with the team they're playing on. We could still pick them. But we're only allowed to pick three teams that they could possibly land or stay. And after it all shakes out, we'll have a recap episode and see where these players actually land. How about that, Austin?
Oh, I quite enjoy it very much. But before we get into the big meat of things, I would like to ask a question.
All
Now,
right.
this question is also for the comments section. I see you people watching, but we need to get this community a little bit more active, in my opinion. So I'm gonna drop this question right here, and I want the comments to bring their point of view into this as well, along as yours. But all right, so the question of this episode is, who do you think will be the Carolina Panthers wide receiver one going into 2024?
Hmm.
I want to know. I want to know what everyone thinks in the comments too. I'm quite curious of what answers I'm going to get. Do you have an answer?
Hmm. No, I don't. I didn't think about that. I figured it'd be Adam. I mean,
This is why we need the comments help for this.
yeah. Let's see if they draft someone, go out in free agency, grab another one. Yes, that would be interesting to see what everybody comments on who Carolina Panthers number one wide receiver will be next year.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Now,
I still think it's going to be Adam. That's just my opinion.
okay. I think they could sign somebody.
I think
I
they can
will.
too. They got
I think
many
that
out there.
Yeah, so before we keep going with that, drop a comment in below and let us know what you think. Who you think will be the number one wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers going in 2024? All right, so you ready to get into the meat of it?
Oh, yeah, I am ready to get in the meat of it. Let's
All right,
start.
looks like we're going to start with quarterbacks.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you start and then we'll swap and then I'll pick a quarterback. So you go right ahead.
All right, so my first free agency prediction that I want to throw out there involves Baker Mayfield. Um, haven't really seen a lot of talks. I've heard he wants to stay with Tampa, but at the same time, I haven't really heard them settle it on Baker, especially after the. Oh, you may think, I think that Baker should come back to Tampa because they did pretty well last year. They actually surprisingly made it in the playoffs when I didn't think
Yes.
they would make it in the playoffs with Baker. Be honest with you, I kind of thought Baker was kind of done,
Uh,
but
well, you and me thought different. And I told you last year at the beginning of the season, you watch and see what Baker
oh,
Mayfield
oh,
done.
come on, hey,
Oh no, you remember. Don't tell me I didn't say that. I got other people that would actually tell you that I said Baker Mayfield will take that team somewhere, and they did. They made it to the playoffs. So I
all
got
right,
other people in our league.
they barely made it.
No, they didn't barely
Let's
made it. They made
let's
it with a
let's
style.
let's not go ahead and crown Baker as this new guy
Okay.
rejuvenating thing, but
Okay.
my
All right.
top my
I'm good
top
with that.
prediction my top prediction though is I think he kind of goes back to Tampa. Tampa would be kind of crazy to let him go after what he did last year. I think he's grown. I think he shows a little bit maturity now. Um, I just think he can lead an offense, and I think the Tampa one is best suited for him, especially with Tampa re-signing Mike Evans to a 2-year deal, which that was one of Baker Mayfield's best friend. I just think, especially for fantasy, I just think it would benefit a lot more if he stayed with Tampa, a team that he knows and the coaches that he kind of is knowing a lot more now.
So if he doesn't stay with Tampa, just tell me two other teams you might think he might land at.
I ain't seen no rumors, but I will tell you a good fit.
Okay.
Um, I think the second team, and now this is a team that if they don't stick with Kirk Cousins, I think Baker would do pretty great going to the Minnesota Vikings,
Oh, that's a good fit. I like that. That's interesting.
especially when you have Justin Jefferson and
Oh
Jordan
man.
on one side and Jordan Addison on the
Sitting on the
other.
other.
And then you have when TJ Hawkinson comes back from his injury, when he comes back, I could easily see Baker Mayfield being the top 10 quarterback in fantasy football next this coming year if he went there.
Well, I believe he'll be in the top 20 no matter what, and probably most likely the top 15. But yes, maybe Minnesota might help him out a little bit more with the better wide receiver, but you never know what Tampa might end up adding with Mike Evans. So,
You're you're right. But now my third place is kind of interesting because they drafted a first round quarterback with the 20th pick a couple of years ago. Uh, they did pretty decent this past year, but then he got hurt, and I'm not sure they're 100% sold on him. And that when we're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers,
oh, okay.
I
All right.
think I think he would be a pretty good fit. Now there was rumors that Deontay Johnson might be somewhere else. That might be there was rumors that he might be considered a trade option, but nothing is set in stone yet. But my
Mm.
thing is, if you bring in Baker Mayfield into that offense with Mike Tomlin, when you have Najee in the backfield, then you have George Pickens on one side. If you get Baker Mayfield, that probably might persuade Deontay Johnson to be like, "Hey, I think it's not so bad here. Maybe I can actually stay and let's ride this out." I think that would be another good option in my opinion.
Yes, I can see that. I mean, and just my outtake of the whole thing, I'm kind of with your first choice, Tampa. I do believe that they're going to get a deal done. His biggest thing was hoping that Mike Evans stayed, and that did happen. I don't think it's Tampa holding it up. I think maybe the agents just want to hear what the outside wants to rumor or say, but I think the deal will probably end up getting done in Tampa for Baker.
Yeah. That's the reason why I put them as number one because I just think he's just gonna wind up eventually just going back to Tampa because place he knows, the place he's aware he already understands and stuff, so I can see that.
So I got the
Now,
next. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. No, I was gonna say now I wanna hear what your option is. What you got.
Well, my like you want me to pick three teams for him?
No, no,
Oh,
I want you to tell me who your quarterback is and
oh,
where
my
you think they're gonna
quarterback.
go.
That's
Yeah.
where I'm more okay. So I picked Kirk Cousins from Minnesota. Now, I honestly do believe they're going to end up getting a deal done in Minnesota. I believe he'll end up staying in Minnesota. But if for some reason he does get released on the 13th and he goes out and he talks, I think the next stop for him will most likely be the Atlanta Falcons. There is some rumors that hey,
Oh,
his in-laws live in Atlanta. I mean, there's a lot going on in Atlanta
no,
for him.
just
So
just
so
just
so that could
just think just
possibly.
just think about the Drake London stock though if he goes to Atlanta. That
Well,
would
it's just
skyrocket.
well, it wouldn't just be that. It would be Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's a good receiver, even though tight end. I mean, that team, Bijan. I mean, the little short, little dinks and dunks.
So
Kirk Cousin does that too. So I
here's
mean,
a Here's a good question for you, though. So you still have belief in Kyle Pitts?
Yes, I do. I just don't think the right person in the right scheme has been put for him.
So, okay, so if Kirk Cousins goes to Atlanta, where do you think he'll land and finish 2024 in dynasty terms in a full
I
PPR
believe
league?
Atlanta Falcons will probably go to the Super Bowl and win it. That's bold. That's a
Whoa.
heavy prediction, but they
Look,
would definitely be in playoff contentions.
I didn't know we were bringing hot sauce to the table, but apparently we are.
Oh, you know I'm always dabbling in that stuff. I'm drinking a whole bottle of Texas Pete, and I'm not advertising them. Uh,
Okay.
but my third option, and that's kind of like the only other option that I knew that needed a quarterback need, and it's been a lot of talk about the quarterbacks there at this team is the Steelers. So the Steelers are, I think, are maybe looking for another quarterback and maybe considering putting someone else on their team. I think Kirk Cousins would also fit good there at the Steelers. I mean, I could see that one happening. Uh, it would be interesting.
In my opinion, I think for financial terms, I think Minnesota should just let Kirk Cousins go and get somewhere because you already have to pay Justin Jefferson a big lump sum because you know he gonna get cash, whether if it's in Minnesota or if he decides to go somewhere else when his time comes. But
Right.
I think I can see why Minnesota would want to keep him because of what he's done shown there. But I think Kirk Cousins and well, I think Minnesota should just let Kirk Cousins go somewhere else, and then they either sign a cheaper option for this year, or they try to trade up to to get a back end quarterback, kind of like move up with Atlanta or something to try to get JJ McCarthy or something.
Yeah, I could see that. All right. So I want to hear what your other quarterback you have.
All right, you know him. Some love him.
Do I love
A
him?
lot. I don't know if you love him. You
I
never
do.
really.
He's on one of my teams.
Oh, is he?
Go
Are, you
ahead.
ta- are we talking about Russell the Love Muscle?
Oh yes. I
Okay, so
acquired him in a trade. I did not draft him, so let me get that out there.
you feel good about that.
Well, no, actually, I was wondering what's going to happen to him. Is he really worth even staying on my bench?
Well, we all know that the Denver Broncos are going to release Russell Wilson when the time period comes. Right now, he's got permission to go and speak to some teams, potential teams that he can go to. And one of them I actually found interesting, which they do need there since we already done named them. It's my first one would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the reason why they're number one for me with Russell is because he was actually down there meeting with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think there's some interest in there. I can see them going for them. This one might surprise you, but my second one would be the New York Giants
Oh,
because on his way on his way to Pittsburgh, he made a little pit stop. He went up to New Jersey and went and visited the New York Giants. And you're probably like, well, why would they do that? They have Daniel Jones. And then I ask you, and then I say, exactly, they have Daniel Jones.
I have no disagreement with that.
So there's already been rumors for a couple of years now about Daniel Jones questionable of being a franchise quarterback. And the only reason why the New York Giants gave them that big lump sum money was because of that one year where they somehow squeaked into the playoffs when Daniel Jones was rumbling and a stumbling, and then they were like, okay, well, we're going to give him a big deal, and then literally he went back to the old Danny Dimes that we know and kind of love. He just got hurt and
Yeah.
just didn't stay healthy. There was inconsistencies, so it would not actually shock me if the New York Giants, try to go after us.
I think that'd be a good fit for Russell Wilson, either one of them teams. So who's your other team?
Now, this is a team that I was just like, you know, I would like to see him there. And it would be a slap. Also, it would be a slap to the face of the Denver Broncos if they went there. And the third team I picked would be the Las Vegas Raiders.
I did not see that one coming.
I mean, look at the quarterback. Right now, leading the charge is Aiden O'Connell.
He didn't do too bad in his rookie outbreak. He has some weaknesses, but I think he's a lot
Okay,
better than Russell Wilson. So
I
yeah,
can, it's hard for me to kind of be like, yeah, I can see that because it's Russell Wilson. He carries a big name. He's won a Super Bowl. I think the main reason what happened with Russell and the Denver Broncos is because Peyton and Russell Wilson's they didn't gel together. Their philosophies were different when they played. They tried their best to cope with it, and they tried their best to counteract with their just coexist with each other. But I think they just counteracted with each other more than actually helped each other. And I think that was the reason why you know they were like it's time to move on from Russ. So
yeah.
I think if he being paired up with Devontae Adams, have Michael Mayer and Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers was really good for the Las Vegas Raiders. He was really good. So I just I could see him going there and actually being, in the top 15 in the fantasy at the end of this year.
Yeah, I don't see that. I think maybe top 20 if we're lucky. So that's mean. But hey, Russell Wilson, let me just before we go on, he's done great. He made it to the NFL. Most people can't even make it to the NFL. So I'm not knocking him. I'm just joking around a little bit. The guy's a great guy. So I hope the best for him. I just don't think we're ever going to see him in that top tier 10 anymore. I mean, would love to, like to be surprised. I mean, you never know. Look at Joe Flacco. He come back. I mean, it can happen. So can't rule it out. Now, I know I didn't pick like a star name as my next quarterback,
Let's hear
next
it.
free agent, but I did pick a pretty good backup, Jake Browning. So,
Oh, that I
Kurt,
wasn't expecting you going that.
yeah, so he's currently with Cincinnati and he is a free
Oh,
agent. And I honestly think with Joe Burrow's injuries and stuff, and as well as he did going in, I have a feeling Cincinnati might end up working a deal. But I also think that there's other teams out there looking for a good backup and they need them. And he might even get that starting position somewhere. So
he
New
did pretty
England,
good.
yeah, New England is my next team I picked on my roster for him to go to. And then the Browns. The Browns always needing a good backup. And I think Jake Browning would fit on either one of them teams really good. I think he could actually compete for the starting job at New England unless New England drafted someone that just jumps in that spot and takes it over. We already know they're trying to trade Mac Jones. They pretty much gave up on their whole little roster of quarterbacks there, Zappy and them. I don't think we're going to see that bunch there next year. I think they're going to bring in some new personnel, and I think he'd be a good fit for New England. I also like the Browns because they're always needing that backup quarterback. Deshaun Watson,
They're always also
up and
needing
down.
that starting quarterback too.
Yeah, and I think Jack Browning showed that he could be that guy. I'm not saying he's that consistent. He did have his downfalls. but you put him in the right group, put him behind the right O line. I think you could see something. I'm not really sure why Minnesota cut him way back, and he ended up to Cincinnati, but you had Kirk Cousins up there, so
I
and
mean, there you go.
I get it.
And the only
But
reason why he started this past year was because Joe Burrow got hurt.
yep, and he showed out. He There was a couple times he did good. There was some people in the fantasy leagues that picked him up off the waiver wire, was able to survive with all the quarterbacks going down because
There's a lot of
of
quarterbacks that went down, like you said. So of
yeah.
course,
He became actually a valuable asset in Dynasty in periods of time through the season. If you had him on your roster or picked him up on the waiver wire, you could get a pretty good trade out of him. Um, then it all kind of like at the end, everybody just started dropping everybody. So I mean,
right? I
so
got you.
but I
I
just
bet.
went out. I wanted to go left field there. I didn't want to get someone that big name everybody knows. I wanted to throw someone out there that
Hey, I love it. I
because
love
it's
it.
fantasy related. I mean, these backups could be your starter, especially in a dynasty league. Because in a dynasty league, you might have three quarterbacks on your roster, maybe two on your roster. Most of the time, 3 to 4 quarterbacks. But
Well, especially in Superflex.
yeah, super flex. So we play in a super flex and a non super flex. So you load up on quarterbacks, and gems like that save you. And you have options to put them down on your bench. You have options if they're rookies or younger guys. You can put them on your taxi squad. But to have them on your bench when one goes down, because you're not going to get all the starting quarterbacks with 12 teams. I mean, once everybody fills up their rosters with more than 3 quarterbacks, quarterbacks are slim. So grab what you can. So he
Right.
becomes relevant.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
So I think we're going to change positions now.
It's got a
And I'm
running
going to,
back, baby.
yeah, I'm going to hand it back to you for running backs. So tell me which running back you would like to talk about in free agency.
Well, everybody knows him. I don't got a backup, underdog story on this one, but my first one is going to be Saquon Barkley.
Hmm.
Now, there's some really good spots that I would love to see him, especially in Dynasty. And, I've heard them talk about the Giants, they're not going to franchise tag him, but, he wants to play for the Giants, but he also wants to get paid. So I think they're going to break up, and then I think the number one spot that I think that he's going to go is the Houston Texans.
Okay. I like that.
Because you already got you already done I saw rumors and saw articles where Saquon was in touch with CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud trying to recruit the best players to come to Houston because that's the next hot team. So they had contacts with each other, and it sounds like that's one of the big places that Saquon wants to go, from my understanding of what I've read.
So
So
that's your
and
top choice.
that's my top choice because if he went to Houston,
Ooh.
that offense is going to be something else.
Oh, that,
Especially if they draft a receiver, since the receivers this year are so deep. Yeah, it's just no. That's just the. I think that'd be a top 10 offense right there.
oh yes, definitely.
Now, I'm a. This might be a curveball for you. It might not be.
Well, I'm ready to duck if it comes too fast towards the head.
Well, I think my second spot that I would love to see him at is with the Los Angeles Chargers.
Ooh. So if they're not willing to pay Eckler, you think they're going to be willing to pay Barkley? But I mean, okay, yeah, but yeah,
Look,
ooh,
Austin Eckler is 28. If he's not 28 right now, he'll be turning 28 this year.
uh huh,
Saquon is only 25. Just
okay. Now
just
you're selling it.
just they gave him quad. They didn't nickname Quadzilla for a reason. The dude is super athletic. He can catch outside. He can He can run inside, run outside, bulldoze people whenever he wants to. He actually has really amazing quick feet for a guy that big. And especially in Dynasty, I mean, especially now the way you look at it, I would take Saquon over Austin Eckler.
Oh, I would too. And and
So
and
yeah,
yeah,
I think especially if it's Saquon, I mean, if I was the GM for the Chargers, I would.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
I can see
that's no
Hardball
brainer.
going for that because Hardball runs the ball.
And if yes, not only does he run the ball, Greg Roman is their offensive coordinator, and he loves to run.
The
Or
ball.
Saquon would be just. I think he would be in the top 5 if he went to if he went to Los Angeles.
I think he'd be in the top five at Texans or the Chargers. I mean, he was 8 last year. I really honestly believe next year, if he doesn't get injured, whatever team he lands on, he will be in the top five. Even if he stays at New York Giants, he'll be in the top 10. So do you
Now,
have a third team or do you think the Giants are going to get him?
I don't think the Giants are going to get him.
Oh, I like this. You're taking them out of the equation. That's what
Yeah,
I'm talking about.
I don't. I just don't see it. I mean,
Let
it,
let's
it
let's hear your third team because I just
because
liked it.
he just said he doesn't want to be tagged. The Giants said they're not going to tag him. They just seem like they can't get a deal done, so I don't think so. So the third team I am going to put on there is the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh no. I did not see that. I wouldn't have,
Oh,
well, yeah, and they are looking for a running back. I think they're
oh
wanting to pay
yeah,
$33 million.
dude.
They
Just
the
imagine,
Ravens.
just
Mm,
imagine Saquon back there in the backfield with Lamar Jackson.
mm.
The only thing the Ravens would need is a receiver.
They Zay Flowers wasn't
Look,
that bad, and there's a lot of wide receivers out there that would
so so
kind of
you would
complement Zay Flowers.
okay, so you would draft, and let's just say you're doing a startup league in Dynasty. You would draft Zay Flowers as your number one receiver.
No, I would not. But what I think the Ravens will do is they'll end up getting someone off of free agency for a wide receiver spot to complement Zay. So I believe there's other wide receivers that are equivalent or almost equal to Odell and would give that same kind of performance they need to kind of smoke screen, get both sides going. It I believe the Ravens will go that route.
Okay.
So, which when we get to the wide receivers, maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that. I don't know. Wink, wink.
Well, I gave you my first one, so I want to hear your first running back.
My first running back, he is the
Oh yeah.
king, Derrick Henry.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I had to
Okay.
put him in this because I know we talked about him in a previous episode, but this is a game we're playing to see which ones we get right. And
Mm,
I'm just dead set on Derrick Henry. And I honestly don't think he's going to get a deal done with Tennessee. So I think Tennessee is out of the question. So I have 3 teams that I've picked for Derrick Henry to go to.
okay, let's hear it.
The one I've heard in the rumors that are pretty strong is the Ravens. So could you
Hmm.
imagine him joining Lamar and that group down there? Would be very impressive. The other rumor I heard was also the Texans. So we got both teams, both looking for
Okay.
running backs.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other one that has capital that could afford it
Uh-oh. Who?
is the Eagles. So that's another rumor I heard out there.
Ooh.
So I mean, either one of them 3 teams I think would be a fine
So
fit for King Henry, and I
so
think he could finish out his years in the top 10.
so when they do the tush push up there in Philly, they're probably gonna have Henry going behind him and pushing. Well, let me take that back. They're not just only he's not only going to just push Jalen Hurts into the end zone. He's probably going to literally lift him up and walk himself into there carrying Jalen Hurts.
I don't think it'd be the tush push no more. It'd be throw Jalen over the pile. I mean, because Kelsey's gone, Kelsey's retired, so that was the main key to that whole tush push. if you ever watched him, that guy, he drove the middle of it. And yes, everybody pushing behind him helped, and Jalen got it. But I honestly believe the center was a key point of that play. And you're pulling that because other teams tried it and it's not accessible as the Eagles were. I think when you pull that out, it's going to be a different play. And yeah, I could see Derrick Henry actually picking up Jalen Hurts and toting him across the goal line. That would make sense. I mean,
So the only thing I have a concern with all these running backs that we predict go into like the Eagles or the Ravens is when they get down to the red zone, is Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson going to, eat up into that touchdowns,
ugh.
or will they actually hand the ball off to them since, like Derrick Henry or Saquon goes to one of them? Like, I think that would be the only concern I would have, but I still think it would be great even if they went to either one of them teams.
Yes, I do believe so. I mean, it would be interesting.
All right, so you ready to hear my second one?
Yep, I'm ready for your second running back. Give it to me.
All right. So, I like this. I like this guy. I've tried to get him several times in my dynasty league, but I got ultimately what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go Josh Jacobs.
Mm.
Um, I can never get him in my dynasty league because nobody will trade him to me, but he kind of fell off this past year whenever he came in his after his breakout year. But several things happened, but I still think my first destination for him is I think he's gonna go back to Las Vegas because he talked about he wants to play in Las Vegas. So I think he's gonna stay with them because he just wants to play there. And it's just all about the price. It's just mainly all about the price. But my second one, I could see him possibly going to the Cowboys because Dallas is going to need a running back because Tony Pollard's in free agency right now. We don't know if he's going to be signed back with Dallas or not, but I would like to see him with Dallas because, especially with that offensive line. Now we got to replace. We got to replace Smith because we're not going to re-sign him back because he's just so good. He just costs too much.
Yeah.
But I think if we can bolster up that offensive line, I think Josh Jacobs could be a top 20, maybe even top 10 with Dallas, especially
I,
because Josh Jacobs is pretty good with, going out there receiving the ball as well.
I think it would be a good fit at Dallas. I can see that. They would have to free up some cap room, I think, to get Josh, but I'm not sure.
Right. So another one, my third one, you, you might see it. You might have seen, you might have thought I might say this, but you might not. But I think it'd be a good fit with the Vikings.
Okay, now that I no, I did not see that, and that would help the Vikings because I mean
Right now,
their running backs are all becoming free agents, and I could see them needing a running back. So
right, because I'm not saying I haven't seen no rumors or anything like,
no,
but
I haven't either. But
this is just me, speaking into existence,
yeah, I
basically. But
mean
that would be pretty neat to see him going to Minnesota.
yeah, and you know how the rumors go. I mean, one minute we hear a bunch of rumors, and out of blue something happens that no one's seen coming. So, I mean, a lot of these rumors are going to get hot and heavier on the 13th than now. So, like when these teams start approaching other players, we're going to hear other stuff that we've not heard yet. So, I could see Minnesota going for any of the running backs we mentioned because
Right.
they're looking for them. I mean, that I could possibly see.
Right. Now,
So,
I want to hear your second running back that
uh,
you have.
I
Is it
picked
is it another backup?
no
Oh,
DeAndre Swift from the Eagles. So I picked him. I picked him because he becomes a free agent. I
mhm.
do honestly think the Eagles will probably end up getting a deal done with him. I don't think they're going to release him. But if they did release him and they couldn't get that deal done, I could see Swift going to the Ravens because the Ravens just don't pick one. When they bring in a running back, it's like they have like 3-star running backs down there right now, and they're fixing to release them all. There's not
Well,
even a guaranteed any of them are coming back.
Keaton Mitchell's still there, and he did pretty good.
He's a rookie.
He
So,
was a rookie. I think he did pretty good last year.
yeah, they're not going to.
But
The ones they're releasing are the veterans. The ones that are all up due for their
yeah,
contracts are no longer rookies and they got to make a deal. So, you got Dobbins down there, Gus Edwards, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Oh,
Ravens for
Marvin
the
Gordon.
past
That's
2
who it
years.
was. Oh,
Melvin
God.
Gordon.
Yes. I couldn't.
Melvin Gordon. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
That's a
like I said,
They brought
it's
him
just a
out of
carousel.
retirement. They brought him out of retirement and off of a practice team to come there and play. They were going through running backs like water.
Well, it's just the roller coaster down there with running backs, so it's kind of hard to keep up with all of them.
Yeah, and so if they're willing to pay the money and they have the money to pay, I could see them pulling in a Derrick Henry and a Swift and or even a Josh Jacobs, any of them, pulling both of them in because the way they run the ball down there in tandem, I could see them doing that. The other team that I have Swift going to is the Raiders because that's if Josh Jacobs doesn't resign, they're going to have to fill that void. And are they going to draft or are they going to pick up off the free agents? There's so many running backs out there. So I thought the Raiders would be another good fit for Swift.
I I kind of like that. I mean, Swift, he actually this I think this was like his healthiest year that he had. And
Yes.
it's amazing because the Lions were just like, they wrote him off. That's the reason why they traded him. So I like that. I mean, either way he goes, I think DeAndre Swift could be a top 20 running back in either of those spots that you said.
All right. So let's hear your let's jump out of that position and go to wide receivers. So give me your
Okay.
first wide receiver you got.
Oh, this one's going to be kind of interesting.
All right. I'm ready.
Very interesting. You could probably go back and forth on this one too, but I think my first one is Calvin Ridley. So Calvin Ridley, he's an interesting character, but I believe that I don't think he's going back to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think he's going back there.
I think I'm
I
in
think
agreement.
wide receiver one because this was really his first full year of football after 2 years of being away. His last year in Atlanta. Well, yeah, basically, he took that 1 year off from Atlanta because he wanted to be mentally, get mentally more stable, I guess, for whatever he was dealing with. He wanted to get mentally better, so he took a break from football that year. And then he got, if I'm not mistaken, he got suspended from gambling on the Falcons games.
Yep.
So he lost another year. So it was 2 years being away from football. That's going to leave a lot of rust on a guy. I still believe he could be a really good bona fide wide receiver. I like a low wide receiver one in fantasy. But it might not be the greatest for fantasy, but I still believe the number one spot would be the Carolina Panthers.
Now, I mean, that might be that could actually help the Panthers out. I mean, you put Adam and him on the field to give him a little bit more
And then
and he's
John
good at I mean, I think that would help him out. I honestly think that would be a good fit.
Well, see, this is the reason why I asked that question in the beginning of this episode is because I think it'll be, I think it could be Calvin Ridley. Now, I need to see a little bit more from Jonathan Mingo. He had some flashes, but I still need to see
Uh,
a little bit more from Jonathan Mingo before I even consider even being close to a wide receiver one. But I think they'll sign Calvin Ridley, and it'll be Calvin Ridley, Adam Thielen, and then Jonathan Mingo. But
all right.
now, but now two, number two, I could see him going to the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
I could see him go to the Baltimore Ravens because Odell, he's not coming back. He's
Yeah.
not coming back, and they have Rashad Bateman, who the verdict is still out on him. And then Zay Flowers, I thought was pretty impressive, but I think there still needs to be a bigger body on the outside. That way, Zay Flowers can work around on the inside.
I do agree with that.
So I think that would be a good fit for Calvin Ridley is with the Baltimore Ravens. Now my third one, my third one would be the New England Patriots
Okay. New England needs
because
all the wide receivers they can get.
yes, they need the wide receivers, especially if they do trade Mac Jones away and they do draft. Let's just say they draft either Drake May or Jaden Daniels, depending on what the Commanders, which route they want to go on the quarterback situation.
Right.
But I think they draft. I think they draft the rookie quarterback. Get that rookie quarterback some veteran help by getting Calvin Ridley.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think if uh, it's a stretch, but I think in either one of them, I I could see him kind of cracking or just sniffing around the top 25 spot.
All right. So I could see that. So with my wide receiver, I picked Odell Beckham.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
don't think the Ravens are going to sign him back. I'm in agreement with that. I think the Ravens are going to let him go. I honestly think that Odell still has a little bit of steam in him. He's
Mm,
still a valuable player. I believe the 49ers could be looking at him. There's a possibility he goes to the 49ers. I have actually read a rumor that they are interested in him.
hmm,
Uh, that you know why the 49ers would
mm.
do that. They spread that ball down there like no other team,
They
other than
do.
the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean,
They need to leave my
so
boy Brandon Ayuk alone.
oh no, I think you will still stay there, but I think
Well,
Odell could join the group. And my other pick would have been the Panthers because they need another wide receiver. And I think
mhm,
Odell would be a good fit for the Panthers. That would help out that whole set.
right.
And this is me getting a little bit out there, and maybe I am drinking too much hot sauce, like you would say. I honestly think that Arizona will probably end up releasing a wide receiver, and I think Odell Beckham will probably end up being his replacement. And I don't think he's going to be the main wide receiver there, but he's going to help out whoever they draft. So
Well,
that
I have Marvin Harrison. Just this is a spoiler for a future episode, but I think Marvin Harrison's going to go to the Cardinals,
I do
especially
too.
especially with the top three teams needing quarterbacks. I think he falls to the Cardinals, and if they did get Odell Beckham, I mean, you know, that doesn't seem that bad. I mean, I still think that Marvin Harrison is gonna he'll be the top guy.
Yeah, the only reason
'Cause
I think he'll go to Arizona, Marvin Harris, and I know that is ahead of the show, is because I think Chicago will trade back far enough where they won't get Marvin Harris. I think that's just my pick. And
okay,
so,
okay,
and the rumors are getting stronger and stronger about
mhm,
that subject. So everybody, like I said, last year it happened. This year it's
Taylor,
going to happen.
Taylor Williams going to the Bears.
Whatever. We'll see. That's
Okay.
another episode. That's another episode. We won't get too deep in it.
Okay.
We could have that discussion all night long, and we're
All
just going to
right.
have to
All
say
right.
we'll see.
All right. All right. Well, I'm gonna give you my
All right,
second wide receiver,
go right ahead.
and it's Marquise Brown.
All
And
right.
I don't I don't see him going back to Arizona because of what literally what we just talked about. They're gonna be drafting a receiver regardless if it's Marvin Harrison or if for some reason if Drake May doesn't go to the Commanders and because the Commanders wanted Jaden Daniels. Because I saw a rumor where if Jaden Daniels gets picked by the Commanders, the New England Patriots could possibly just either draft Marvin Harrison or trade back and get capital for that spot. But I don't think he's going to the Cardinals. So my first pick would actually be the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
And the reason why, and you're crazy is like, well, he's already been there.
Right. That's why I'm like,
He's
okay, why are we going back?
he's already been there, but I think you go back to familiarity with Lamar Jackson. I think whatever happened with the Ravens in the first stint, they patch it up. But also, I'll be drinking too much of the hot sauce too.
Mm-hmm.
I've been drinking too much of the hot sauce too, so that's a wild card. But I just put it at first because I mean, let's just do a little rodeo and let's just see what happens. But if that's just a shot in the dark. Like you're just crazy. But the second one, I think, would actually be the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers obviously needs a receiver. So if they need receivers, then let's get Marquise Brown. I think Marquise Brown will do better in that offense, you know, because he's fast. He's really fast. He didn't really fit in with the offense in Arizona due to the fact that they I just don't think he fit in that system. I just don't think he fit in it. So I think that's a good spot for him to be in Carolina.
Then who's your
And
other
just
team?
my other team, my other team would be the Chargers
Okay.
because the Chargers need help.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of their wide receivers are getting older.
Yeah, they need help. So Mike Williams has a hard time of staying healthy. I think they need some help because Keenan Allen, as good as he is, he's up there in age. He's like 30 plus. He's like 30, 31, 32, somewhere in that ballpark. So I think they need help. So I think it would be a good fit for the Chargers as well.
All right. For my wide receiver,
Yeah, do it.
all right, is Michael Thomas for the Saints. Now he's not a star player anymore, but he's still got a little bit of juice in him. If he could stay
Yeah.
healthy, he could play good. I do not think he's going to go back to the Saints. I think the Saints are going to release him. It's more freeing up that salary cap and doing all that good stuff. Uh, and it's time. So, but where I think, and the rumored, there's a chance he could be going to the Ravens. So there is an actual rumor out there that he could be signing with the Ravens. I could see that. That would help out Zay Flowers a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other two teams I've not heard nothing about. These are me just taking a guess and shooting in the dark. But looking at the needs for teams, Tennessee needs some wide receivers. So I picked
Ugh,
Tennessee as another landing spot to kind of
you're
juice up
sending
that.
you're sending him to die.
Well, I mean, that is a place to go. Uh, the other place, and that's also sending them to die, is the Panthers. So, I mean, I'm sorry, Michael. You're one of my favorite wide receivers, always have been. And there I am sending you to Tennessee and the Panthers. But I'm hoping he lands in the Ravens. I really do. I think if he can stay healthy, that's the key. I know he has that foot injury, and he's been fighting with that foot injury for a while now. And I understand it's just not something you can just overcome. And hopefully he can stay healthy enough to help out the Saints because, like you said, Zay Flowers needs that big guy on the outside. And Michael Thomas is that big guy, and he can
Right,
do it. He can do it if he can stay healthy. So it would be interesting to see him.
right.
So I'm gonna hurry up and hand it back to you because I want to cover the last offensive position. Um, we're gonna each do one tight end. So I'm gonna let you give me a tight end, and then I'm gonna grab a tight end.
All right. Well, my tight end, my original tight end was gonna do already done spooled where he was going, so I had to go to my plan B.
All right, what's Plan B?
My plan B is Noah Fant
Oh, okay.
because his first he played this past year with the Seattle Seahawks. Now there has been an injury prone. He's kind of been. I don't really want to slap injury prone, but he has been hurt pretty good bit, which has also hurt his ability to be on the field and points and stuff. But I still think I still think he can at least get to top 15 if he lands in the right spot.
I can see that. He's
But my first spot would be that's if there's rumors that there might be drafting one of the best tight ends coming out of this year's draft. But I'm gonna go with the Chargers.
okay.
I'm gonna go with the Chargers, even if they do draft Brock Bowers, as I think that they will.
Oh, you need that
Um,
other tight end. You can't just have one.
right, and when you run the ball a lot, you want to go with two tight ends set for the most part. But even when they run the ball a lot, Justin Herbert still likes to throw to the tight end.
Yes.
So I think Noah Fant would be a great spot for the Los Angeles Chargers. Now my second spot be a little curveball for you as well, but I think another the second spot would be the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
You know they need some tight end help, five tight end. You throw in Noah Fant, I believe Noah Fant has a chance to take that tight end spot from any other competitor. I think that would be a good spot, especially when Joe Burrow comes back and gets healthy. Now my third is another. It's kind of another little bit of a curve, but I I could see him also going to the Los Angeles Rams,
Okay.
and it would actually. And I know you're like, well, Tyler Higby's there. I was like, well, yeah, Tyler
Well,
Higbee is there, but
he needs to.
Tyler Higbee has also been hurt. He
Yes.
hasn't really been fully healthy, so I believe even if he does get hurt, Noah Fant could be a great spot. But I can also see Noah Fant taking the spot from Tyler Higbee because Tyler Higbee is a little bit older than Noah Fant is. Dynasty, I would I would take a shot at Noah Fant if I was in the later rounds of a draft and I needed like a tight end too, or an emergency flex spot. I would take a shot on him.
All right. So my tight end, I got Harrison Bryant for the Browns.
Hmm, okay.
So he's went through some injuries. I think he's still good enough tight end to one day shine if he gets in the right spot. So I'm looking at maybe him going to maybe Miami because I know they're needing a tight end. I don't think he's gonna sign with the Browns again. And I also think the other team I had picked for him is Denver because Denver's also needing a tight end. So I could see him being a good fit there too, helping out that whole offense. And then also the Colts. So either one of them three teams I think would be a good fit for Harrison. So
Interesting.
yeah, I went with the second string guy again.
Hey,
The
hey, there's nothing
tight
wrong with
ends are
that.
deep. Yeah, the tight ends are deep in a fantasy league sometimes. I mean, you got to have that backup in there to fill the spot because they also are prone to injuries a lot, and it's a struggle always finding a tight end. So it's always good to
Uh,
stash one of them guys that you think could actually break out at any moment.
yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm just not one of those guys that draft tight end in like the fourth or the third. When the people got drafting the drafts, Travis Kelsey's and the George Kittles, and I mean, it's always it. If you really believe in somebody being bona fide, I th- I think it's okay to go higher into a draft and drafting a tight end, but you better be hoping and very comfortable with drafting higher, especially with a tight end spot.
Yep, definitely. Um, so that covers the whole offensive side of the ball for what we're going to do in the free agency show. So I will post uh, the teams that Austin has projected for his players and showing the teams that I projected. And later on, we're going to have a recap and see how many of these we got right. So we covered seven different players each. So now we're on a ticker here. See who's going to be the better, who's going to get this right. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know. We just might add it up because at the beginning of the season, we're going to start picking who's going to win and who's going to lose. And we'll just kind of put all that to there. And then at the end of the season, when someone is going to have bragging rights, it's most likely going to be me. I'll just be honest with everybody. Not to
Yeah.
burn the boat over there for Austin.
Well, you're talking to a guy who took 90% of your money in your dynasty league this past year, so.
Hey, no one asked you to brag, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't make it to the championship or anything.
Well, I played in my own little championship. It was called Dead Last.
Oh, I thought it was the toilet bowl.
It was the toilet bowl, and I flushed it. This year
Oh,
was probably one of my worst years ever, but it's
uh,
all good. Next year will be a brighter year. I'm
hey,
still reminiscing about 2019 when I took all them championships. So,
hey, there's always next year, right?
right. So
Whew.
if you guys like the content, please hit the like button and subscribe and share.
And
Sharing is loving.
and also, don't forget to leave a comment down below and
Yes.
answer the question of the episode. Who do you think is going to be the wide receiver one for the Carolina Panthers in 2024?
I won't go ahead and give it away now after we went through all these. Marquise Brown.
Well, he's on my list.
All right.